that threatens life both on land and marine life. The explosion of some of the wells, oil wells in the Gulf of Mexico. Some of you have been following what's going on, and I'm sure you must have had some glimpse or the other. You notice that there have been a lot of talks, testimony of experts and people involved, and there have been a lot of talk, particularly about the corruption resulting from this Fassad. And one thing that came to mind is, while people are talking about this type of Fassad, corruption, threat to the life on this planet, is it only limited to pollution, water pollution, or pollution even moving to land as well? This is serious. It is huge, yes. It has very dire consequences both in the short term and the long term. But what came to my mind was broader than that. When the news broke first, the first thing that came to my mind is the ayah in the Quran in Surah Al-Rum, translation of meaning, that corruption, Fassad, corruption has appeared in the seas and on land, or land and seas, because of what the human hand earned. That means because of the actions, the deeds of the humans, so that Allah make them taste some of what they are doing, so that perchance they may return, meaning to return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some of the exegetists or mufassirin commented on this ayah by Badawi and Ibn Kathir. Basically what they say that there is connection, there is an organic connection between the sins, even moral sins that human beings commit, and what they suffer in their own environment, whether it's the lack of sufficient agricultural produce, or whether it's again the pollution and other things that's happening. And they say even mahq al-barakat, that the blessing, all this blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided us is removed because of the sins of the humans. It follows from this then that Fassad, the term that is used in the Quran, does not have, to my humble knowledge so far, any single English term that embraces its variety, levels, and shades of meaning. So it is preferable, actually, that just use the word Fassad, that it is a much broader thing than corruption. It's corruption that is not only limited to physical or environmental pollution, but pollution in the matter of creed, in the matter of moral orientation, in the matter of behavior of humans. The methodology in preparing this humble khutbah was to go to the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and taking the origin or root from which the variety of words, Fassad, Mufsidun, usually it's composed of 3 letters without vowel signs, so that's Fa, Sin, Sin, Dal. We try to follow these ayat and classify them and reflect on some of the things that might be perhaps useful to consider, given the situation that's happening, has been happening, and is likely to continue to happen if we take Fassad in that broader sense. The khutbah basically deals with 5 issues. One is to start with some preliminary remarks about the use of Fassad in the Quran, or derivatives. Secondly, is to examine briefly some of the forms of Fassad on this earth and how they are connected, reason where they come from and how they are connected with other actions or attitudes. Thirdly, to examine some of the statements made according to the Quran by those who are already spreading corruption or Fassad on this earth. Fourthly, the consequences, long-term and short-term, of Fassad. And finally, our duties in the world that is sunk in all forms of Fassad, corruption. There are only 3 or 4 introductory remarks. One thing is that we notice something on the basis of which the usuli, the scholars in the usul al-fiqh, the legal theory of Islam or source methodology, have concluded that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants for us salah, goodness, which is the opposite of fasad. And that He created things in such a way that it achieves that for us. And actually, that's why many of the scholars of usul, they say that you can sum up the entire purpose of Sharia in just one sentence. You can detain one sentence. جلب المنافع ودرء المفاسد. That the whole ultimate supreme cause of Sharia, the Quran, the teaching of the Prophet ﷺ, is to make people enjoy what is good, of course wholesome, halal, and to remove or avoid or mitigate the harms, or fasad. Then they use actually al-mafasid, the plural of fasad, mafasid. And in fact, if we look into the Quran, we notice first of all that when the Israelites were commanded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Baqarah, that okay, enjoy, kulu washrabu, min rizqillah, wa la ta'thaw fil ardi mufsidin, eat and drink from the bounties and provisions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but don't go around spreading corruption on earth. It's quite clear in the Quran, you find that in some ayahs it says Allah does not love fasad, and in others Allah does not love those who commit fasad or do fasad, mufsidin. Also, we notice that when Prophet Musa alayhi salam asked his brother Harun to replace him as a leader of the community when Musa went to Sinai, of course, to receive the Torah, and he said to his brother, don't follow the ways of the mufsidin, those who do corruption. It's not environmental corruption. There was no oil in Sinai at that time, at least. So obviously fasad here is used in a much broader sense. In fact, the Quran gives a command in general to all. Don't, it says, pray to Allah loudly or secretly in privacy. Allah doesn't love those who commit aggression, and do not commit corruption or fasad on earth after islahiha, because it's created good. We make it bad. We cannot blame Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for our evil deeds, whether we deal with the environment or with other moral or social issues.